Hello, NFL fans, back with another video breaking down the rest of the games of the week. Tonight we have, of course, the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions, which should be a great game. Watch my previous video. It'll be in the description below. Well, it'll pop up at the end. Check that out. But let's go into the other videos. If you like the video here, you gotta like, subscribe, share, all that good fun. YouTube wants me to do it. So I asked, it's a simple thing for you to do, to hit that subscribe button, but it means a lot to me. So let's get into it. First off, we are returned to the crap pile that is London games with Atlanta versus Jacksonville. I have no idea what is going on with Jacksonville. They make no sense. Their offense should not be as bad as it is. Their defense hasn't been terrible, but their special teams has been god awful. The fact that Houston was able to get a punt return after a muff punt is disgraceful. They did not deserve to win that game last week, and they didn't. Houston beat their ass. Now Atlanta, they did not play well against Detroit, but look for Bijan to be on it again this week to have another big game. I just can't, in all good faith, pick Jacksonville until they figure it out. Until Warren shows that he's back to what he was at the end of the year last year. I just can't pick Jacksonville, so I'm gonna pick Atlanta. Probably win 27-20. It'll probably be somewhat close, but I mean, it's a London game. You never know what you're gonna get. Some teams react well to it. Everybody's played across London, but I just can't pick Jacksonville. Next game, we have Miami and Buffalo. Probably one of the best games of the weekend. It can be an offensive firehouse. Whose defense will play the best? I think Buffalo has the better defense. It's just a matter of can they contain that fire show that has been the Miami Dolphins the last couple of weeks. Now, finally, the Miami Dolphins play somebody that's actually worth a darn. So they probably won't be scoring 70 points in this game. It's probably going to be a great game. Josh Allen is going to have to cut down on the interceptions or turnovers in general. And we had one to pick last week, and they just pounded on Washington. So like Buffalo to win this game, it's going to be very close. It's going to come down to whoever makes the fewest mistakes. But I mean, you got to give it to Miami. They're probably going to have their fair share of great plays this week. Give it 30-27. Buffalo wins on a last second field goal. It's in Buffalo. I give the home team the advantage in this instance, but it should be a great game. Otherwise, I wouldn't be surprised if Miami wins. So next we have Denver and Chicago, the Tank Bowl of the week. Who to pick? Both teams are utterly terrible. Chicago is a team without a rudder because they're going to need to find a new quarterback because Justin Fields is not worth it. Denver will need a new quarterback next year because Russell Wilson is clearly not the answer, and they're going to try and find some way to get rid of him. And Sean Payton will get his pick of who he wants to be his quarterback. But man, who to pick? I'm going to pick Denver. I think they've just been able to score more points the past couple weeks. Sure, they've lost all three games, but they've at least shown they've been a little more potent on offense. And just Justin Fields, he's just not the answer. And anybody who ever thought he was going to be an MVP should rethink their lives and look in the mirror because, boy, that was a dumb prediction. And it's bearing fruit that way. It's going to be one of the worst predictions of the year. But it should be fairly competitive because how are these teams going to score, I guess? I think Denver should be able to score better. Probably, let's say, 21-14. 21-14 sounds right. But I guess it wouldn't surprise me if Chicago finds a way to win this game. I just don't have any faith in them, and I can't pick them. And next we have Baltimore and Cleveland. Cleveland's offense or defense has been fantastic. Baltimore has been very up and down. They found some way to poo-poo that game away last week against the Colts. Colts beat them outright. Well, didn't beat them outright, beat them in overtime, but the Colts look like the better team towards the end. It's amazing how Baltimore managed to lose that game. Cleveland looked great against Tennessee. Deshaun Watson is still not the best quarterback you can have out there. He's serviceable at best, but he makes plays in the offense. Jerome Felton looked great, and it's just a matter of who plays better. I think Cleveland's defense has the edge in this one, so honestly, I think I'm gonna go with Cleveland again. I think there's a possibility for Lamar to have a couple interceptions in this game, maybe a fumble. I think just because of the defense that Cleveland has and the fact that Baltimore is completely injured up and down the roster. I mean, it's disgusting. If you looked at their injury report, you'd think, how do they constantly get injured all the time? It's worse than the Packers in the past. I mean, it's ridiculous. Is it to do, or did they sell their soul for a Super Bowl in 2012? The world may never know. But Cleveland wins this game. Let's say 24-17. That might be a lot to ask for against this Cleveland defense, but I think Baltimore always has enough tools there to get that done. But I think Cleveland wins, but it should be a pretty close game throughout. Cincinnati and Tennessee. Joe Burrow is still far from healthy, but Tennessee, I don't know what happened to Derrick Henry. Hopefully, it's just the injury that's hurting him, but man, he's got to get going. He's looking like a bust in fantasy so far, which is a big bummer for me. And Tannehill is just still Tannehill, so you never know what you're going to get. Cincinnati's defense was pretty great last week against LA. Look for that to bear fruit again this week. I think should be a pretty well fought game. I mean, these two do their games between these two do end up being pretty good. So if Derrick Henry can get the ball rolling, I'd say give the edge to Tennessee. But if Cincinnati is able to get past the offensive line, cause havoc with Ryan Tannehill, force him to throw some interceptions here and there, then I think that Cincinnati wins. I think I'm going to go with Cincinnati. I think they have a better team overall. And I just don't know if you can count on Derrick Henry right now until he's fully healthy, if he ever will be. But it should be a close game, 24-21. Next, we have the Rams and the Colts. Look at the Colts, 2-1. Who would have picked that at the beginning of the year? LA Rams, their offense is kind of all over the place. They were to score some points at the end of the game last week, but their offense was anything but efficient. And still with Cooper Kupp probably a week away, or with another week away, who knows if those answers probably won't be answered until then. I mean, Cam Akers is gone. Kyron Williams looks like a pretty good running back. Their offensive line is still kind of a mess. And Stafford is slowly getting better at connecting with his younger teammates, but I mean, still not great. The Colts, Gardner Minshew was pretty great last week. Who knows if Anthony Richardson will be able to go this week? Hopefully so. But they looked pretty good last week, even without um, Anthony Richardson. Zach Moss had a great game. They would get the ball down the field. They looked pretty good. Their defense played pretty well. I think I'm going to give it to the Colts. Yeah, I think I'm going to give it to the Colts. Should be a very well fought game, 21-18, something like that. Um, just the Rams' offense is just up and down every week. I just don't know what to make of it. Colts win, and the Colts go to 3-1. How? Never would have thought that. Next, we have Tampa Bay and New Orleans. Who knows if Derek Carr is going to be able to play, and I'm still going to pick the Saints, but boy, Jameis Winston doesn't look great. And they get Alvin Kamara back, which should help a lot, but will they be able to block for him and make lanes for him against that pretty decent defense in Tampa Bay? Will Mike Evans be able to solve the conundrum that is Marcus Lattimore? He hasn't been able to yet in the several years they played against him. Maybe this will be the year. Probably not, but because Marcus Lattimore just always gets to Mike Evans. And if you remember last year, Marcus Lattimore got in Mike Evans' face. Mike Evans threw a punch and was ejected. Maybe that'll happen again. Who knows? I mean, Tampa Bay's offense isn't great, so honestly, I think whoever minimizes, again, another game where whoever minimizes the mistakes will probably win the game. I think because the Saints will have a more potent rushing attack. Kamara may be a little rusty, maybe a little bit early on, but he should get going pretty well. Have a pretty good game. I like the Saints to win 17-14. It might be a little low scoring game, but considering that it might be Jameis Winston against Baker Mayfield, I don't think that's too far possibility. So, Saints 17, Tampa Bay 14. Next, we have Washington and Philadelphia. Washington was just decimated by the Bills last week. Philadelphia's offense just keeps chugging. Their defense is great. Yeah, I don't see any way Washington wins this game. Philly's going to beat down on them again. Sam Howell just threw bad interception after bad interception after bad interception last week. He had 4 last week. It was not good. And Washington was never in that game for a second. And I don't know, even though it's a divisional game, I don't see how they are able to make a dent in that Philadelphia offense or defensive attack. So I like the Eagles to win 35 to 30. No, 17. I'll give them 17 points just for the divisional factor, but even that might be too much just because Washington's defense, while it's spectacular, they're going to be on the field way too much to really be able to slow down that Philadelphia attack, and it's not going to be pretty. 35 to 17, Philadelphia wins. Minnesota and Carolina, another battle of tank balls. Who wins this game? No Bryce Love again, but Andy Dalton looked pretty good last week despite the 8 false start penalties. Like, come on. How can you false start 8 times? I know it was in Seattle and playing in that stadium was total BS, but gotta do better than that. In Minnesota, while they were able to get their stuff together towards the end of the game, Kirk Cousins still throws an interception, even though the Chargers made the dumb decision to go at their own 20 or whatever and give the Minnesota goal to field position. They still couldn't wiggle it in and get a touchdown, which is pretty embarrassing. Carolina's don't look pretty great. Their rushing attack still needs work, but it's getting better a little bit. And their defense still has their moments, but for this time, I think I'll pick Minnesota. I just can't see Minnesota going 0-4, but watch next week, and I'll be talking about Minnesota 0-4 against the Kansas City Chiefs, but we'll see. I think the Vikings win just because of that potent offensive attack that Carolina probably won't be able to stop. Jefferson, another big game this week, probably, so I'm going to say 28 to 24. Because Minnesota's defense is still not really great. So it should be a close game. Battle with the tank. And Carolina goes to 0-4. Next we have Pittsburgh and Houston. Houston balled out last week. CJ Stroud looking like an NFL quarterback. How about that? Tank Dell making plays. Nico Collins making plays. Dameon Pierce looked pretty good as well. Their offensive line is still missing a bunch of pieces, and they were still able to put up a ton of points in Jacksonville. So that's pretty great. And then you have Pittsburgh, whose offense looked, again, their offense looked surprisingly good last week as well. Even though Matt Canada is still one of the worst offense coordinators in the league, and he should not have a job, but we leave it to Mike to thinking that he's the answer. He's just not. But, and Pittsburgh, I don't know what you're doing with Najee Harris. I mean, it's just, he's just not a good fantasy running back. He still gets his carries, he still gets his touches, and he still does reasonably well, but just never expect him as a fantasy running back. He's never going to be that. George Pickens should be able to get out there and have a pretty good game. It's a matter of who's going to be able to, again, another game, minimizing mistakes. It's crucial this kind of game. It's going to be a very high scoring affair, I would think, although watch TJ Watt add another 3 sacks and be at 9 sacks in the first 4 games, which would be incredible. TJ Watt, if anybody's going to break that Michael Strahan or sack record, it's going to be TJ Watt. And he's well on his way there. As long as if he doesn't get injured this year and he keeps up at the pace that he is at right now, he will go to like 23, 24 sacks by the end of the year, which would be incredible. But I think Pittsburgh has more than enough to beat Houston. Should be a very good game. I'm not going to sell Houston short. They've looked great the past couple of weeks, and they still need a lot of work, but there's hope for Houston in the future. But this week, Pittsburgh wins 27 to 21. Should be a close game, but Houston's just going to have a little, just not have enough. But it's going to be close, so. Next, we have Las Vegas and the Chargers. Chargers losing Mike Williams for the year. That's hurt. Maybe Quentin Johnson can be able to hold on and catch a ball this week. Maybe, just maybe he will. The rushing attack is still not great. Maybe Austin Eckler will play this week because Joshua Kelly's certainly not the answer. I mean, excuse him for the week before against that tough Tennessee front, but against Minnesota, what a disaster his performance was. And if he's trying to start him in fantasy, don't. He's not a fantasy running back. Just don't look at the projection. It's going to be much less what it's projected at, especially if Austin Eckler plays. Las Vegas or Devontae Adams is just a stud. I mean, even though Jimmy is in the concussion protocol, if Alex O'Connell has to end up playing, if he looked pretty great in the preseason, he would be able to get Devontae the ball. The rushing attack just hasn't been the same. I mean, just who knows what you're gonna get with Josh Jacobs? He has not been great this season. Probably still rusty from his holdout, so maybe that can explain why. But it should be a close game. I like the Chargers ball just because they have a little bit more. And despite losing Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, and Quentin Johnson and others will be able to fill in the offense, even though their defense is not really great. But LA wins 24-21. Should be a close game, but if the Las Vegas Raiders win, it wouldn't shock me at all either. Next we have New England and Dallas. Look for Dallas to come out swinging in this game. Even though Trayvon Diggs is missing, look for them to rush that offensive line. Look for them to push pressure on Mac Jones. Look for them to make a statement win. CeeDee Lamb did not have a good game last week. Look for him to get plenty of yards and maybe a couple touchdowns this week. Tony Pollard should be able to get some good run this week. Dak, again, needs to avoid the interceptions, which he did not do last week. I mean, that one interception that he had throwing into triple coverage in the end zone, inexcusable. Cannot do that. It's no wonder why some people just don't believe in Dak, because of throws like that throw you off, and no, this guy will never be anything more than a great regular season quarterback, but never a playoff quarterback. Again, with Dallas, all that matters is what happens in the playoffs. Now, New England, offense looked somewhat competent last week. Yes, it was against the Jets. Watch. I don't think New England will be able to get it. Dak Prescott as easily as they were able to against Zach Wilson. Should be a great game though. Patriots and Dallas always play close, but I like Dallas to win 28-21. Close game, but Dallas pulls away at the end. Next we have Arizona, San Francisco. Arizona, I don't expect them to play like they did last week. They played pretty well. San Francisco probably gonna, on an extra day rest, should beat up on Arizona. Their defense should be able to get to Josh Dobbs. Or Christian McCaffrey should have a great game. Debo should have a good game as well. I don't think the Arizona stands any chance to win this game. It is in San Francisco. It should be allowed. San Francisco for another big win. I'd say 35-14. I'll give Arizona always a chance to score some touchdowns, but not enough. Clearly, way not enough. But San Francisco wins 35-14. San Francisco is clearly the better team. And last week was just a perfect storm because Dallas never plays well against Arizona. Just look at the stats. They have not played well against Arizona for a long time. Next, we have Kansas City into the Jets. The Jets are not going to win this game. Kansas City is going to beat up on them again. It's going to be reminiscent of last week. It will be the last turning game for the Jets with Zach Wilson as the starting quarterback. They're going to be able to rush easily. They're going to be able to get to him, and he's going to make mistakes. Kansas City's going to score a lot. Yes, the Swifties will probably be there again, making a total fool of themselves, but Kansas City wins. They should have more than enough firepower to take down the Jets, even though their defense is nothing to shake a stick at. I like the Kansas City Chiefs to win 35-10. Just don't believe in that offense. I literally dropped Breece Hall in fantasy just because. I may regret it, but Our offense is not good, and who knows if it will get any better this year, to be honest. It would pain me to drop them, but just don't see it. And last but not least, we have Seattle and the Giants. Giants coming off a big beatdown from the San Francisco 49ers, and Seattle coming off a big game against Carolina. Kenny Walker is the real thing. He's going to be able to have another good game this week. The Giants, who knows what you're going to get with Danny Dimes on a week-to-week basis. He didn't play terrible last week. It's just we're so overpowered. It's in New York, so maybe there's a little bit of a difference there, but I think the Seattle wins 27-21, something like that. Should be a close game. These teams are somewhat evenly matched, but I think Seattle is more than enough to win, and they win over the Giants, 28-21. And those are the rest of my picks for the week. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, share, comment, all of that, and everything else. Have a great day, and as always, God bless, and go back home.